The Kaduna state government says the Nigerian army has claimed responsibility for dropping a bomb on Tudumbiri in Igabi local government area of Kaduna state, which left no fewer than 66 villagers dead on Sunday. Scores of villagers in Tudumbiri in Kaduna state were killed after a bomb was allegedly dropped by a military jet during a Maulud celebration. No fewer than 30 residents were killed in the incident, which took place around 9 p.m. on Sunday. The overseeing commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, said the general officer commanding one division of Nigerian Army and first commander, Operation Well Punch, Major General V.U. Okoro, admitted that the Nigerian Army was on a routine mission against terrorists when the incident happened. Joining us now on the morning show is Terence Kuanum, a security expert and national coordinator, National Coalition Against Terrorism. Good morning, Mr. Kuanum, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati, Ayo, and Rufai.
Well, Mr. Kuanum, this is not the first time we will hear about the Nigerian military accidentally killing civilians, where in the latest case, the army spokesperson says he inadvertently. But each time this has happened, whether it's the Nigerian Air Force since 2017, or it is now, as is the case, the Nigerian Army, innocent people are killed. Now, how does this thing called an unmanned area vehicle, how does it work? Is it that, our military do not have the capability to use drones that are used in other parts of the world as tools for modern military warfare? Is it that they just send a drone like a toy into the sky that can just go somewhere and cause damage? Is there no intelligence to determine precision in terms of targeting? What are the issues here?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Abati, for that question. It's very fundamental that those issues are addressed because in time past, we have discussed issues of not gathering intelligence with community and then the military or the armed personnel refusing to work with intelligence that comes from the communities, knowing fully well that the terrorists they are pursuing left, right, and center are using human shades in the communities. And so if you want to use drones to pursue terrorists who are integrating themselves in communities, the community's leadership and then the community volunteer guards that are on ground needs to know so that they can alert their citizens to isolate themselves so that you can be able to confront terrorists who are on the run. But in a situation where these operations are isolated from intelligence that are supposed to be gathered in the communities, and then the leaderships in the communities and the guards, volunteer guards in the communities are not aware completely. It's quite strange that we are doing that in this time and age. But be that as it may, it is obvious that our armed forces are not learning from the strategies that are happening in this war in the last 10 years. And that is why we can be able to confront this kind of thing. And this kind of operation, I think, would have gone into collaboration with the Air Force, who are experts in this field. But if you notice, immediately this happened, the Air Force themselves distanced themselves completely from this, and until the security meeting took place in Kaduna, that the army had to come out and admit this happened to them. It's a very simple thing to just alert the communities to isolate themselves because this was a ceremony going on, and the community was not aware that they are chasing terrorists from Zamfara to come into Igabi, who is a neighboring community to those areas. And they were not completely aware, and they were busy celebrating, and this thing happened in the night. And some were even sleeping at that time. So it's not a good thing that we have this on our hands, and we hope that the armed forces learn from these mistakes moving forward because we can't keep losing citizens who themselves are in danger when they are meeting bombs that were supposed to go to terrorists within their communities and losing such lives. It's not quite a healthy development. And these things, when they happen, we keep talking about losing confidence in our personnel by the communities they want to protect. And when these things happen, you realize that at any time they even want to gather intelligence, the communities does not have confidence in them again. They'll have to go and give these intels to the terrorists and keep killing even the personnel themselves. So until we're able to synergize what we are doing for the good of all of us, we'll keep having this kind of mistakes happening during operations.
Well, thank you very much. Now, you talk about perhaps working with the Nigerian Air Force would have maybe prevented such an incident from happening because they have more experience in these matters. But if you recall, the Nigerian Air Force themselves have not been excluded from accidental airstrikes. We had in 2022 in Kaduna State, it miscalculated one in December of 2022. In Katsina in 2022 as well in July by the Nigerian Air Force. So they themselves have also accidentally killed civilians through airstrikes intended for terrorists. That's on one hand. On the second hand, when this incident happened, the first response from the Nigerian Air Force, because obviously they were the first to be pointed at in terms of fingers, they denied this outright and said, oh, it wasn't them. And then you wonder if there's any cohesion, like you talked about with the military, the Nigerian Armed Forces, the Nigerian Air Force, them working together to ensure they fight terrorism. What could be the problem? Why do we keep having these issues? In the Punch newspaper, it's reported that between 2017 and 2023, about 400 estimated people have died by accidental airstrikes by our own military, and like you mentioned, who are supposed to protect the people. So what lessons can be learned? Is it a lack of cohesion? Is it a lack of intelligence? Is it a lack of equipment, sophisticated equipment needed to truly be able to target terrorists as opposed to civilians?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayo. The challenges the Air Force had at the time was the initial refusal to use technology to be able to detect targets directly and detone these bombs to them. The instance we had in Katsina, the instance we had in Borno, as of then, they were using the old tactics of just using their surveillance cameras in the warplanes and dropping those bombs. And what we noticed is that even the drones they required to get the precision has come in. And it is quite strange that they have not trained personnel enough to be able to detonate those drones precisely to the targets they want. And why I had to mention that the collaboration of the Air Force was not with the Army was because those trainings are actually supposed to have been done precisely by the Air Force, and they were supposed to have collaborated with the Army if the operation was with the Army, because we have an Air Force that is commanded by the Commander-in-Chief, one Commander-in-Chief, and the operations are supposed to be synergized, including even the community volunteers who are supposed to give them first-hand intelligence of X, Y, and Z, because obviously they know that if terrorists are moving from Zamfara to Igabi in Kaduna State, when they come, where do they go? Where can we isolate members of the community that we can be able to precisely target the people we are coming after them? How will the community members avoid being integrated, used as shades by these terrorists that are coming into Igabi? This intelligence was supposed to be put together because obviously they have been using these drones to strike in Zamfara for some time now. And so when those terrorists see those planes coming, obviously they have to run and use innocent people are shared, so that if it comes, they are not going to go alone, they are going to go with members of the community. So synergy is required at this moment within the armed forces and members of the community to be able to achieve the air drones they want to drop on these terrorists.
Two questions I'll ask around synergy. Number one, wasn't the Army supposed to inform the Air Force before it goes on this aerial attack? Because now, I think for the sake of the kind of warfare we're fighting, I think the Army has always campaigned for the fact that it needs its own, aerial assault and things like that. So is that not supposed to be synergy? Because once the thing happened, The Air Force was quick to deny, and it made the military outfit look very suspect in this regard. Then the army was muted for a while before he got his response out. So are they not supposed to have flight plan synergies and all of that? Because what we are saying now is, if the Air Force say we've not had any operation there in 24 hours and the military had an operation there, and there's no synergy when it happened, are we saying that the Air Force can have an operation and the Army can have an operation with their drone and there's a collision of forces? That's number one. Number two, what's the quick response mechanism as regards also ferrying these people out on time when all of this happened? Because I hear the remoteness of the location. Are we also looking at that? So at least to save lives. 80 people just dying like that for no just reason in a celebration. It's not a good thing for our country. It's a sad day for us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rufai. What I just said was the defense headquarters need to synergize the armed forces to be able to fight this war at this time. And you know, because of the dissemination of terrorism at this point, we have gotten to the most dangerous part of fighting terrorism, which are the lone wolf attacks, because they are no longer gathering in forests for you to go and drop bombs and kill them or organize an operation to go and confront them. They are actually in the communities and moving from communities to go and do whatever they want to do. They are no longer in the forests. They are no longer in camps where they have captured communities, because most of the communities have been taken over. So the armed forces are supposed to know that we are at the most dangerous point of this crisis, which is the lone wolf attacks. And because at this point, any innocent person they come across, they use as either as a shield or they kill you. And so fighting them at this point means that you are fighting innocent people in the communities because they have been integrated, they have been used as shields. So synergizing not just with the armed forces, but with the communities is the best way to have gone. If they had synergized with the communities, obviously they would have even have been means of even evacuating victims of those bombs attacks immediately to where most of them would have survived those attacks, because some died in the process of trying to evacuate them to a more proper hospital from the wounds they obtained from those attacks. So synergy is key, and the defense headquarters is supposed to be in charge of coordinating these drones. Because like you said, it's quite unfortunate that we woke up one day and lose citizens of this country who are celebrating in their communities because you're fighting terrorists and XYZ. It's not correct. And so I urge the defense to be on top of this process so that synergy will exist. The issue of one armed force denying responsibility, knowing fully well that an operation has been coordinated by a sister force, is quite it's not correct, because it brings suspicion, it brings disillusion within the communities, and then confidence. And once the community loses confidence in what the armed forces are doing, they themselves are going to be in danger, because wherever they are moving within the communities is going to be exposed by the communities, so that if the terrorists are able to get them, they will be safe. Because you notice that most of communities, people who are peaceful in the communities within the northern part of this country, are paying royalties to terrorists to be able to live safe in their ancestral homes so that they won't be attacked.
Okay, under these kind of circumstances, the Nigerian military, do they have protocols in place to try to pay compensation and also to ensure that there is proper investigation to find out exactly what happened, to determine whether indeed this is as a result of perhaps negligence? And are there sanctions if negligence can be established? Because oftentimes when we have these accidents, yes, the media will make noise, there will be barriers, all of us would commiserate with the families, and people move on until the next accidental discharge by the military. And the standard excuse that the experts give is that where in an asymmetrical war, you know, even in a symmetrical war, accidents do happen and it's collateral damage. But is there something in place to show that at least there is some human feeling in terms of operational procedures when there are accidents like this?
Well, thank you, Abati. In a proper coordinated armed forces, you can't do this and get away with it. We are all aware of that after investigations, if this is negligence, if you are unprofessional in detonating these bombs, obviously you are going to lose your badge, you are going to lose your services to the armed forces and XYZ. But we have seen reports that have come in Kaduna, in Borno, and we have not seen proper sanctions that the society will be satisfied that these are happening. But those incidences took place before these present service chiefs have come. So we are going to see the report that is going to come out from this incident. We are going to see the sanctions that are going to be in place. The commander-in-chief himself is supposed to come back, is supposed to take actions, because he is the one that is commanding these troops. He is the one that have commanded these troops for us to go and lose innocent citizens that supported him, that stood for him when he was campaigning, and they voted for him. And we have confidence that when he comes back, he's going to do something different, and sanctions will go to the proper channels where officers have been very unprofessional in handling in the course of their duties, because this is quite unfortunate, and Nigerians can't sit and fold their arms when such incidences happen, because it might happen tomorrow, because they are going to get away with it. So it's not correct at all, and nobody will accept that. So we'll wait and see the report and the sanctions that will go out, because this is a new set of service chiefs and this is a new commander-in-chief.
All right, well, Amnesty International, in their response, had said that they recommend a total overhaul of the Nigerian military because, as they've cited, and we've talked about already this morning, this is one incident too many. We've had a number of incidents like this. And as Dr. Batis just asked, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anything that had, any measure that had been taken in the past had served as a deterrent for it not to occur again. Because we're not just in occurrences with significant time in between, we're talking about a matter of months. I mean, just in December last year, then July last year, how many citizens have to die for there to be action, you know, taken in such a way that would not or never, if hardly see an occurrence like this. When we look at that recommendation from Amnesty International, an overhaul of the military, would this be a recommendation? Would you agree with this? And if that were to be a recommendation, what would this look like?
Yeah, thank you, Ayu. I see the recommendation of Amnesty to be too hasty. Yes, we've had this in December, we've had this in July, but like I said, we are dealing with a new set of service chiefs. Let's see the investigation that will come out, and let's see the sanctions that will go out. We are still going to be here. We are going to follow it up. We are going to assess it, and we are going to see what will happen. The fundamental thing is that it is quite unfortunate that we will lose our citizens through operational failures. And if this is unprofessional, it's not going to be accepted. Let's give them a benefit of that. Let's see let's not jump into conclusion, because the investigation obviously is going to go on, and let's see what is going to come out of it. And let's have confidence that the commander-in-chief will also come back and then put in a word and a directive that these things will be properly done, and sanctions will be given to the people that did this, and also give a better direction. We are overhauling the armed forces. They have been overhauled on and off. We've had the same mistakes and XYZ. So let's see what the investigation will come out, and let's not preempt what will happen, because we know the armed forces have their rules, and the rules are very clear about unprofessional conduct in operations.
Let's talk about the thoughts. Let's spare thoughts for the families of these people, because there are people that have their own ambition and their own lives ahead of them. Probably they were thinking of Christmas, or they were thinking of the New Year, but now they are no more. What should we do, one, to be able to ease the pain on these family members or these people that are still in the hospital? Because obviously their lives are shattered. That's number one. Number two, what should we do to help this inter-community relationship? You know, because DC Gabriel, our reporter on ground, said something. He said, the people were very disgruntled that their words, not mine, was that those that are supposed to protect us are the ones killing us. And that's very deep.
Well, the fundamental thing that will ease the pain of every family that have lost someone in this kind of operational failures is for the armed forces to be able to end this crisis in the north once and for all. Let Nigerians be safe. We have a situation on our hand, and we have seen capacity that these things can end. Let the political will be there for these things to end, because we know over time that political will has contributed largely to the failure of the operations that are going to end this terrorism. And we are urging this new leadership in the country to bring out the political will that can end this, because if you notice the little peace we have had in the Kaduna-Abuja route and the Niger states and some other parts of the Northwest is because of some level of decisions that were taken within the political leadership, and that peace has come. What seemed to have been an impossible task, we are beginning to see some improvements, and Nigerians are beginning to build some confidence and apply certain routes that were not applied at all in this country. We also have other challenges where people are killed within the middle belt, northern part of this country, and then the political leadership is rather protecting that those news should not come out for Nigerians to see, because people are still being killed. And so overall, if the political leadership at the top is decisive to end this, they are going to end it, because there is nothing you are going to do to these families other than ending this crisis once and for all, for them to be peaceful and go back to their normal lives. That will be satisfactory enough. And then two, the situation we have on our hands is very delicate, because synergy is what is eluding the armed forces. Now, we begin to wonder what the defense headquarters is doing when it have armed forces on its hands to coordinate and synergize for operations. And then, what we have on our hands, because of the clustered settlements we have, you really need the community leaderships to be able to get certain intelligence, because most of these operations that are being carried by terrorists, you see them holding these operations on motorcycles, passing through so many communities, sometimes in their 10s, in their 20s, to go out completely for these people not to be able to locate them. And so you need intelligence from these communities to be able to know the routes these terrorists are using and XYZ, for you to be able to gather a proper intelligence to activate an operation. So that synergy is very fundamental for these things to be successful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Terrence Kuanum, for your time. Quite a very sad morning, and our kind words to the families of the departed.